Welcome into a live Wednesday edition of the Desmond Johnson Show here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. You can view it at the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel. No Marc Pruitt today. I know that normally we have Marc Pruitt in, Winston-Salem Journal prep beat writer, who gives us his top three big games of the week for Friday. He had a situation and wouldn't be able to attend today. We do have two high school football games going on. We might have three actually going on this Friday on Tobacco Road. I'll get a check for that before we get out of here. Dennis Cox, WRAL personality and host of Panthers Playbook, joining us here as we're going to kind of have we're going to try to figure this out because although the Panthers are 0-2, I do feel a little better about them than I did at this point last year. At this point last year, I think we were benching Bryce Young. So yeah, it's a little different 365 days later, but we'll get into all that and more. Injury reports out now for the Panthers, so we'll get you ready for that too. It's the Desmond Johnson Show. Let's go ahead and roll that intro.
With Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
Yeah, welcome to the Carolinas. Everywhere you go, the sky is Carolina blue, the finest. Live action, feedback, the city needs that. I've been number one, no cap. Here's the recap. Adrenaline is my addiction. I'm about to relapse. Step on the turf if you want and get your weed whack. I'm going harder than a martyr on the starter end. It's the heart of man, that's a rap like a cardigan. I'm breaking records, it's fourth and inches. I count the seconds. The over-under's my roar of thunder, my secret weapon. Yeah, the game is to be told. I don't break, I break modes. Follow me on Tobacco Road.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
And welcome back into the Desmond Johnson Show, Wednesday edition here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. You can hear the best of the week on WWBL in Greensboro every Friday, 5 o'clock, and on WTOB in Winston-Salem at 6 o'clock on Fridays. Dennis Cox in the house here with me from WRAL. Personality and Panthers Playbook co-host with my good buddy Chris Lee. Dennis, what's up, man? You guys have had, just like we've had to Believe in Panthers, a lot of content to kind of go through the past couple of weeks. How you feeling? What's the vibes here?
A lot of angry Panthers fans, and that's completely understandable. I mean,
it is.
I mean, how can you not be upset? Like, we were sold the bill of goods, and I know obviously media is a part of that, but we were all anticipating improvement in some way, shape, or form to start the season. I think a lot of Panther fans were resigned to the fact that this may not be a playoff team. I said before the season, somewhere in that 7-9 win range. I think that was the next step in the growth of this team because there's still a lot of young pieces, still a relatively young head coach, still young at quarterback, a lot of young skill position players, but they added so many new pieces on defense, and even you still drafted a 8th overall pick wide receiver who looks great, by the way.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
You were anticipating things to be better than what they were. And it's like, and honestly, it looks like what we saw for much of last season. Like, nothing really seems to have gotten that much better.
Yeah, I have concerns. We started doing a post-game instant reaction show. I know you guys do that also, but we started doing it this year, me and Jonathan Stewart. And I typically stayed away from that because our dynamic on our show, on our pod, he's the ex-player. He's been in the locker room. He knows what the players are going through. I'm the emotional fan. I'm the one that's the roller coaster. I'm the one that comes in hot. Like, so usually we don't do anything after the game because I'm too wrapped up into what I just saw. But I got to admit, it's helped me a little bit in terms of coping. Like, by the time I get to the end of the game, because like first week, Jacksonville, it just felt like dumpster fire. Then it felt like it was going that way this past Sunday. And then, it just kind of started to turn a little bit in the third. I don't know if it's fool's gold or if it was more, honestly, they were losing a lot of defensive players. Like, the Cardinals were losing a lot of people to injury in the second half, and they started playing kind of a shell vanilla type of defense where not necessarily prevent, but it wasn't as aggressive. They were only rushing 4 people. So it gave Bryce time to cook. And we do know Bryce can do that when he's given time. But I do agree with you that there are elements of this team that feel like last year, like the end of last year, where they were cunning games. They'll compete against top teams, but they aren't going to win them. They might pull out some against 500 and below type teams like the Falcons, who we'll see on Sunday. But I'm more concerned with the defense than I am with the offense. And I know the defense had a good day. A decent day Sunday. They didn't allow like 300 yards, 20-something points. Fine.
Mhm.
But I said this earlier in the offseason. If there was going to be a job that's in the hot seat, it's the Giro Ibros, because he literally just led a record-breaking defense last year in terms of suckability, for lack of a better word. And then this year they open up with 200 yards rushing on them week 1 when you're the healthiest you're ever going to be. That's where I've been. I was like, the roster's never going to be as healthy as it is right now. And you just got ran on for 200 yards by Trevor Etienne and company in Jacksonville week 1. They calmed it down a little bit week 2. But your thoughts on the defense, and do you think that Ejiro Evero might be the one that's the scapegoat of this if things start falling apart? Because I see it more on the defensive side than I would. Offense seems like they're going to be able to score when they want to, but defense, I don't know if they can stop anybody.
Well, we'll come back to that comment about the offense being able to score when they want to. But I mean, honestly, defensively, I mean, it is on Evero this year, because guess what they gave him? They gave him a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks on defense. 2 of them being edge rushers, the 2nd and 3rd round pick. You also got the addition of Turk Warden. I know he's hurt right now, but you got the addition of Turk Warden and Bobby Brown and Trayvon Merrick. You were given a lot. A'Shawn Robinson was one of your guys that you wanted to have last year. You also brought in Pat Jones. I should have mentioned him too.
Yep.
I understand that Josie Jewell's no longer with the team because he's still dealing with the concussion symptoms and all that. I totally understand that. But let's be honest. It's on him now. You got all the pieces. Make it work. By the way, Derek Brown also back this season too. So you can't have the excuse of, well, Shaq Thompson got hurt a few games into last year and Derek Brown got hurt after the first game and things kind of fell apart. So I also bring up 2023 as well. People like say, oh, defense was outstanding in 2023. It actually really wasn't. It was actually one of the lowest in the NFL in terms of sack percentage, pressure rates, red zone defense. They actually, I mean, granted, there's a little context in that regard of the offense did the defense 0 favors, but you didn't have Shaq Thompson in 2023 either, because he actually got hurt in the second game.
Yep.
So and you had Frankie Louvu, Derek Brown, and Brian Burns. So my point is, what's the excuse this year? You can contextualize all you want, but at some point, the results have to be what matters most. And that's the whole point of pro sports, right? The result is really what matters. It's the final score. And we haven't seen it really fully from Evero. There's no excuse this year for Evero. There really isn't. No excuse at all.
I've never been a fan, and I've been a lifelong fan of the Panthers since 95 when they were created. And I've been saying this for 2 years now. The Panthers have never ran successfully a 3-4 defense except for when Don Capers was the head coach, 1995, 96. And even then,
that was a different NFL.
You have to have certain things to run the 3-4 correctly. You have to have linebackers. You have to have linebackers. You have to have a dude in the middle that nose tackle that can plug up 2 offensive linemen and stop the run. You kind of got that with Derek Brown, I guess, but that's not really his natural spot, and then
he's just playing the nose.
He's just playing the nose, but he's not a nose. So you're kind of playing him out of position. You need a middle linebacker. Like, you need a dog at middle linebacker. How many times have you heard the name Trevin Wallace come across your TV screen the past 2 weeks?
Generally not in good ways. It's like, right, Trevor Wallace getting beaten coverage, or Trevor Wallace, whatever.
Turned around.
Yeah, exactly. Just go back to the Jacksonville game when the tight end Strange caught a touchdown pass right there on inside the 10-yard line. He was looking in the backfield, and you actually see Christian Roseboom pointing over, like, go with the tight end, and he's not looking in the right space. Trevor Wallace is, as much as we saw him flash in the off season in terms of summer workouts and training camp and so on, it just hasn't been there on game days yet. We just really haven't seen it. You like physically what he can do, at least you think, in terms of a coverage standpoint, but he just, the linebacking core has been non-existent. It really hasn't.
And in a 3-4, that just means that whoever's running the ball against you, they're going to get to the second level before anybody touches them. And that's how you have your safety as the leading tackler. Like, if your safety is the leading tackler, that means that something is going wrong where runners are getting 6-7 yards a clip. And that's another thing. You need a safety. So, like, the best 3-4 I can think of in my lifetime is probably like 2000 Baltimore, right? And they had all those things. They had linebackers. They had Ray Lewis at middle linebacker. You have Ed Reed at safety spot. Like, you have to fortify the middle, like, in order to run the 3-4 properly, or teams are just going to run up your gut like all day. And that's what we see. We see they just basically pick A gap, B gap, and they just run straight through. Nobody touches them until they get to the secondary. Next thing you know, you've got 200 yards piled up on you on defense. So I do think that might be an issue. And I did notice something. We mentioned it back in the offseason when they were signing some of these players. For the past 2 seasons, I've noticed when they sign defensive guys that are like Evero guys, that they call that they've been in a scheme or whatever, they never get a long-term deal.
No.
1 year, 2 year, something like that. I think some of the ones they brought in this year are on short deals where they can get out of it after a year. That tells me that Dan Morgan and Dave Canales baked in a fail-safe to get out of this in the middle of the season if it starts falling apart, and then it won't really affect them in terms of roster building because a lot of those guys won't be back anyway. So I'm thinking that he was the only one that Canales didn't hire, which was weird to begin with, for Tepper to hold on to Ejiro Evero out of the failed Frank Wright situation and then let Canales and company do the rest. But you're being forced to hold on to this guy. So it makes me feel like Canales sometimes is forced to say nice things about Ejiro Evero because he's kind of the owner's guy. But now that that's starting to sour, now they can start planting seeds. Hey, this guy's not good. Hey, this scheme don't work. We can do a whole lot better in a 4-3. Our players are 4-3 players. So let me get off the defense for a second. We'll go on the offensive side.
Oh, it's all good.
It's
all good. And I think
I'm just dumping Dennis. I'm sorry.
That's totally fine. I know, but I do think you bring up good points. And I will say this: Dan Morgan admitted, hey, look, we didn't give him the personnel last year. Let's be honest, the personnel wasn't there last year.
Right.
That's why I say there's no excuse this year because all those guys that I just mentioned and Derek Brown and all that coming back. So yeah, 100% with you. There's no excuse on it this year. And we've already kind of seen it a little bit where Dave Canales asked about the young guys playing on defense or lack thereof in that first game. And then it's like, oh, sure enough, Umar Mieling gets a sack in game 2.
Look at that.
Play the young guys. Draft guys 2nd and 3rd, 4th round. Play them.
Lathan Ransom. I'd say he got in week 2. It didn't make any sense that he wasn't playing him. So it's like, okay, I get it. Who's the safety that keeps getting burned that he keeps throwing out there at the starter? Nick Scott. Yes. Nick Scott. I don't understand it. So we'll hopefully they'll figure that out. On the offensive side, we got some injuries to report on the offensive line. One of the things we were talking about when we first came into the season, Carolina was in an enviable position where they were bringing back their entire starting 5 and really their top 9 offensive linemen. So this isn't I don't think it's as huge of a deal as it would be if it was a different situation. It's a big deal because Robert Hunt's one of the guys, and I've considered him one of the offensive leaders of this team since he came over in free agency. He's out with a torn bicep. It's typically season ending, but they've got him on IR where they can reevaluate after 4 weeks and go from there. Austin Corbett, the center, basically an MCL tear, is what I'm saying, a full tear. I think it's a grade 3. Yeah. He possibly may be out for the whole year too, and that's the same like he had a injury with, I believe, the year before. I think he's had 3 or 4 straight years where he's had leg injuries.
Quite a few, because it was the very end of the 2022 season that he had the ACL injury. Then he tried to come back in 23 and just didn't work just because of how late that. Because I think it was the last game of 2022 is when he hurt his knee.
Right, and both these injuries happened in the 4th quarter of this game, which is unfortunate. But I say this for Panther fans because Cade Mays will come in for Austin Corbett, and he started 8 games last year, so this isn't anything new for him. Chandler Zavala, who was a former 4th-round pick from NC State, will fill in for Robert Hunt, which he's done when Hunt was injured. I think he had a hand injury or something like that last year. So they've had experience with Bryce Young and this offense running it. So it's not like you're just plugging in some guys from off the street. I don't think the offensive line will miss too much of a beat. In fact, I think that those 2 guys were in when Bryce was kind of cooking at the end of the 4th quarter against Arizona. So that part of it, everybody kind of relax. It'll be fine. What are you looking for in this Panthers-Falcons matchups? The first home game of the year. I assume are you going to Charlotte Sunday?
Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
So what are you looking to see from Carolina? We started off this whole segment with you wanted to see growth from last year to this year. What's the one thing that you're not seeing growth-wise that you feel like they just keep doing over and over? I feel like I know the answer to this question as a
protecting the football.
Don't fumble the ball.
Protecting the ball. You look at Bryce Young has 5 turnovers in the first 2 games of the year. And let's also not forget that there's a couple turnovers that he had, 1 in each game, that got called back because of penalties. Yes. So he had the pick 6 against Jacksonville, and then he had the 1 fumble on that final drive against Arizona. That game got called back due to injury. I'm sorry, due to injury, but due to penalty. Sorry. But I mean, that's really 7 times he's given up the ball in 2 games. 3 plays into the game against Arizona, you're already behind the 8 ball because you can't hold on to the ball. I understand you're going to get pressure in the NFL. It's just what's going to happen. And if you actually look at the the percentage of dropbacks where Bryce Young has gotten pressured so far this season, it's like 17th in the NFL. So it's like middle of the pack. So he's not like he's uniquely getting more pressure than any other QB in the NFL. So how do you handle it? And when you know that third play, he's got blitz pressure coming up the middle, he tries to avoid it, hold on to the ball. Yeah, if you have to, it's third play of the game, just literally fall down with the ball into the fetal position. And like, literally do that. Literally do that and hope someone dives on you and get a 15-yard penalty. Because I'd much rather do that and punt the ball away than have what you had against Arizona 3 plays in the game. Like, if we're being honest, that's what you need.
That's the frustrating thing. Honest. What you're touching on to me is the number one thing, because then it opens up what if, basically, for both weeks. It's like, okay, what if we didn't turn the ball over 3 times in Jacksonville? Do we win that game? Like, because then it's more of a 17-10 type of thing in the fourth quarter. Or last week, if you don't turn the ball over the third play of the game for a touchdown and then throw a weird interception that ricochets up in the sky and you're down 10-0 with like 8 minutes to go in the first, and you've only been out there like 5 plays. Like, we got to stop digging these holes. And it's like, this is year 3 for Bryce Young. That's the thing that's concerning for me. I've been on both sides of the fence of, I don't like Bryce. Oh, I like Bryce. He played really well. I'm not scared to be like, hey, he did not play well today, that kind of thing. But it's so up and down. Like, he had a stretch at the end of last year where he strung together some games and some wins. So it gave us some optimism. Like, we don't need to look for a quarterback. But when do you get to the point, this is year 3, and eventually we're going to have to start talking about potential contract extension for Bryce Young. He's former number 1 overall pick. What does he have to do to get a bag similar to like a Brock Purdy or a Jalen Hurts, where you're talking $200+ million on an extension here on his second contract? And I don't feel like he's earned it. So like, I'm trying to figure out what's his value. I can't figure out what does he need to do to show that stuff's behind us and we're moving on, and I'm the number 1 pick in the draft and I'm leading this team forward, because it doesn't feel like he's fully got that yet.
No, he hasn't. He has to string together more than just the few games that we saw at the end of last year. Like, he has to do that. There's 15 games left in the season. He's got to have 12 really, really, really good ones, I'd say. I mean, I'm talking consistent, 200+ yards passing, consistently taking care of the football. Let's also keep in mind last year that in that final 10 games where he started. So remember when Andy Dalton had the wrist injury and that fender bender that he had. Yeah. So when Bryce Young came back in and started, Bryce Young started the last 10 games of the year. He accounted for 20 touchdowns, 15 passing, 5 rushing in those 10 games. So you're like, okay, you're looking at 2 a game. 5 of those came in that final game against Atlanta. So literally 25% of the touchdowns came in one game.
Mm-hmm.
One game.
See, they leave that part out when they talk about Bryce Young was on a burner at the end of last year and stuff.
Yeah, because it ended on such a high note. Let's also forget that last year's Atlanta defense sucked.
Yeah. And they got 4 rookies starting. Yeah, they got 4 rookies starting right now. So
yeah, but they also made obviously the draft picks with Jalen Walker and James Pierce. We'll see that obviously this coming Sunday. But let's keep in mind, and when it comes to context, when it comes to all this stuff, what's the one term we always hear with Bryce Young nowadays? Yeah, but he did this. Yeah, but that. Or well, this interception happened. Yeah, but the play calling. Yeah, but the wide receivers. Or this didn't happen. Yeah, but. There's always a yeah, but when it comes to Bryce Young.
The defense gave up 200 yards. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
That phrase, if you're still saying yeah, but for Bryce Young at the end of the year, he ain't the guy. There should be no yeah, but trying to explain things and all that kind of stuff. Either he has it or he doesn't. And you got to figure that out by the end of this season, because you're already on his second head coach. It's already on his second head coach. Are you going to fire Canales and try and see if he can figure out once again when it comes to Bryce Young? Because that's what they're trying to do in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence,
who already got his bag himself. Yeah.
And Doug Peterson. Now let's bring in Liam Cohen. And guess what? Trevor Lawrence is still doing the same stuff he was doing for the first few years of his career. Eventually, the yeah buts have to stop when it comes to Bryce.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because that's kind of where I am. I want him to succeed. I think people think
why?
I think we're in the same boat, because we do these pods and we come down on him because we're being critiqued, or we're critiquing him in his play, which is what we're supposed to do. We can't coddle him. He's the number 1 overall pick in the draft. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. So he's supposed to be doing these things. You shouldn't have to put all this stuff around him for him to succeed every time. Where you see guys like Joe Burrow or others do more with less. And like, that's kind of what we were sold when Bryce came in and they traded up for him. And now I'm like, okay, it's year 3. You're in a position where this isn't Canales' quarterback. And to be honest, I kind of feel like Canales showed his hand on how he feels about Bryce when he benched him last year. Because if he was attached to Bryce and his job was attached to Bryce, he would have stayed out there the whole year and just looked awful. And it ended up working in his favor. But him sitting him in the first place told me, okay, he didn't have the conviction in Bryce that he probably should have. Like, I don't feel like Bryce Young being there sold him the job of wanting to be the coach of the Panthers, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you say this when it comes to coaching. Here's something to keep in mind when it comes to how a coach feels about a quarterback. What were the two 2-point conversions they attempted against Arizona the other day? What were the play calls? Runs.
I remember, yeah, it was 2 run plays that got
There were
stuffed.
runs.
Yeah.
There were runs.
Yeah, because I remember thinking, why don't you do
Young?
play action here? Yeah, I remember that.
Like,
yeah.
Does he actually trust Bryce Young to get I'm going to put the ball in your hands to get these 2 points that we need? Hey, it's a 27-9 game, 18 points. We need a 2-point conversion to make this mathematically a 2-possession game. And he doesn't give the ball to Bryce. And then the same thing later on. Hey, we need a 2-point conversion. Hey, let's kind of run this sort of like shotgun hand off to the guy that's beside me type deal. Went nowhere. But he didn't put the ball in Bryce Young's hands. And Bryce Young didn't audible out of things as well.
Yeah,
like,
which he could have done. Yeah.
But that's the things. Like, that shows you, in my eyes, a level of trust a coach has in a quarterback. What does the play calling look like in those key situations?
And that, I would imagine that resonates across the team, because we do hear all the time that the team loves Bryce, that he's a leader, yada, yada, yada. But until you start winning games, like, none of that really matters. Like, because you're just repeating the same thing every week. And I think that's where Panther Nation is, because we have not had a winning season at this point since 2018, 2017. It's been, I think
it's 2018. Yeah, I think.
Like, it was the first year Tepper was fully Cam hurt his shoulder early, and then they went through like 5 quarterbacks. It was the end of Rivera's term. I miss Ron Rivera, man. I miss Ron Rivera so much. Like, I look back on some of these things, I'm like, why did they fire Ron Rivera? Like, why would they not just let Ron Rivera rebuild the team himself instead of, I want a new coach, I want an offensive-minded young guy, blah, 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 blah. And then, or Steve Wilkes. I miss Steve Wilkes, man. I mean,
it's interesting you bring this up, because I want to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Is that, well, under Steve Wilkes, they had the identity, right? This is who we're going to be. What is the Panthers' identity right now?
You know what?
Like, under Dave Canales.
I know what they want to be.
I know what they want to be and what we hear Canales say, but what are they? Like,
that
on game day, what can you say? That
actually bothers me, Dennis, because the stuff that Canales says, what they want to be, it does not reflect what we watch. Like, he's saying we want to be a run-first team, we want to be disciplined, we want to, take care of the ball, we want to control the defense and run the sticks and ball. That's not what they're doing. They're not doing that at all. Like, so I don't know what the identity of the team is. And I think the problem with that is because we don't really know what we have with our leader, with Bryce Young. Like, until we know what Bryce Young truly is, I don't know if the way the past 2 weeks have gone, it's forced us out of, we wanted to run. We haven't been able to, because we've dug holes for ourselves. My light just went out. We've dug holes for ourselves in the past, the first 10 minutes of each game. So it changes the whole playbook. So it makes it where you don't really know what you have with Bryce or the offense or the team. I would think run the ball, stop the run. That should be the number one identity of the team. That's when the Panthers perform the best, when we're doing that kind of thing. When we're, giving the ball to D'Angelo Williams or Jonathan Stewart or Christian McCaffrey 25 plus times a game, running a little play action and just tormenting the other team on defense. Like, the defense has always been the backbone of the Panthers when they're good.
Oh yeah. When
they have a good defense or great, like a top 10 defense, that's when they're winning games. And it's not about the offense and all that stuff. It's complementary. So them trying to change it and make it where it's like, it's offense first, defense. Like you just said, they spent really 2 years ignoring the defense. And now it's kind of showing that they didn't really do anything. Even the guys they brought in, none of them are needle movers in my mind. Like, none of those guys are dudes that are like, oh, that's going to be a difference on the defense. They're just plug and play guys that know the system. And I don't know if that makes so much of a difference than the guy that was there the year before. So to answer your question, I don't think they have an identity. I think that's why they're 0-2. I think that's why that's what we're talking about right now, because I don't know what they are. And they don't either.
And I think as well is that this is also, you talk about the lack of players on this team. It's also a byproduct of what they've been doing, trying to chase and fill the quarterback position. Because you got to think, since 2021, when they made the Sam Darnold trade, you are talking about a team that has given up 11 draft picks and DJ Moore to try and fill the quarterback position. 11 draft picks and DJ Moore to try and fill the quarterback position. Because again, that's all the multiple picks given up for Darnold, the multiple picks given up to draft Matt Corral, the pick given up for Baker Mayfield, all the picks given up to go. It's just, but that's
Sam
that's
Darnold,
thing. Yeah. So it's all the compounding stuff that comes with it. I think Will Greer may have been in part of that as well. But that's how much this team has given up to get one guy. So when you see the frustration for Panthers fans about Bryce Young, it's that, well, yeah, it's understandable because of all the assets this team has given up to try and finally go get the one guy that's supposed to be the difference maker for your franchise. And it's year 3, and we still question, can he be the difference maker for the franchise? So yes, that's the thing to keep in mind as well. When you give up that much over, so again, that's just since 2021.
Yeah.
2021.
And all the talent that we have shipped off. And I don't think you mentioned Brian Burns. We let Frankie Louvo go. I mean, they had components.
Wanted out more than letting him go. I think Frankie.
Yeah. Well, that sounded like he wanted to go because of Ejiro Evero's defense. He didn't feel like he could play in that defense, and they were more hell bent on keeping Ejiro than Louvo, which I think was horrible because that's one of the linebackers you could use 4-3 to do this effectively. So I don't know. And then I'm still sitting here years later, they're trying to figure out, why did they trade Christian McCaffrey? Yeah, he gets hurt here and there. But why did you trade your best player away for peanuts, basically? Like, it looked like you were trying to dump the season, and then you promote Steve Wilkes up to interim, and then you go on a little tear, and it's like, oh, well, let's see if we can sneak in the playoffs. You just traded away Christian McCaffrey. What are you doing? DJ Moore. DJ Moore looks miserable in Chicago. Like,
oh, yeah.
I would call him like, hey, you want a third? We'll bring DJ Moore back down here. Like, stuff like that. It felt like David Tepper was trying to find a short way to get to success in the NFL. Like, if I do this and skip that and jump over this, then we'll be up here. We'll be fine. I'll be celebrated, yada, yada, yada. And it never happened. And I feel like he's doing it the right way now. But now the Panther fans have been kind of programmed to think, well, this is a quick fix guy. Like, this is a guy that's going to come and try to fix it quick because that's what he's tried to do the past 3 times. Now he's doing a slower approach. Is driving the fans insane because now we have to go through the same thing that we've been going through, losing while they're trying to build the team. And we've seen it for 7 years. So it's like, I don't know. And then I have like friends that are like Steeler fans that are complaining about the Steelers. And I'm like, brother, you have no idea like what it's like. Like, I have friends that are Steelers fans that have not ever experienced a bad season. In Pittsburgh. They may have not won a playoff game or the division, but they're over 500. They're in the playoffs. You're watching them in January. The Panthers, it used to be good year, bad year, good year, bad year. Like, that's how it was. When we were decent, we would be good a year, and then we would be below 500 next year. This is the first stretch I can remember in Panthers history where it's just been like this for every year. 5 wins, 6 wins, 5 wins. 6. So it's a different level of Panther fandom where if you've been here the whole time for the ride, we're not used to this. Like, I'm not saying that Panthers are normally good. I'm saying they're normally average. They're normally right in the middle, and we're not. We're not average. So,
and I think that's the frustration from fans that we talked about at the top of this was that you look at, or at least what fans want to see, they want to see steady growth. You know, it's one thing, again, if they lost that week 1 game to Jacksonville, I think fans, again, were resigned to the fact that, they could possibly lose that game. Same thing with Arizona. But if you see, again, steady growth, and it's like, okay, we know this team's starting to put things together. They're still young, and they're starting to put all this stuff together. We didn't see any sort of growth. Nothing. Not even from your quarterback, from your offense. Like you mentioned, all 9 of their top offensive linemen back from last year. You have 2 first-round picks at wide receiver in Leggett and McMillan. You have brought back Tommy Tremble. You have Jatavian Sanders. You have 2,000 plus yard rushers in your backfield with Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle from last year. Chuba finished 8th. Rico finished 12th in rushing in the NFL last year. Those guys are in your backfield. Why does the offense suck? Like, let's be honest. Why does, like, the only time the offense consistently moved the ball was against Arizona. Like you said, they had a bunch of injuries, and they were just kind of like, We're just
All
going to
right,
give you
whatever,
the
yeah.
middle part of the field just so we can collapse on you and hope we bleed clock. And they started doing that early in the third quarter. That's the only time the offense actually really consistently moved the ball.
Yep.
Then sure enough, it's do or die time, 2-minute drill, and you couldn't move the football.
Fizzled
You
out
didn't
right in the middle of the
complete
field.
a single pass. You had 8 plays. You had 6 incompletions. And the only reason why that drive extended is because of penalties by the Arizona Cardinals.
Arizona wanted to give the game away, basically. And the refs were just whistling stuff where I was like, are the refs trying to give us this game? Is that what's
They had the
happening?
over. I'm not entirely sure. But maybe that's the thing, is that with all that came back and all that was added, why does the offense still suck?
Now, one more thing before I get you out of here, because we talked about it before we got on. I wanted to talk to you about Xavier Legette. Because that seemed, we were talking about the fans being mad online and whatnot, and the feedback again. I'm seeing the same thing where people are questioning Xavier Legette. Pretty much every breath he takes, every move he makes, like they're questioning him like right now. And it's hard because I don't know for sure if he was a first round grade. I know the Panthers had him as one, but he's having some issues. I think Joe Person or somebody put out a stat where he was targeted 8 times for -2 yards or something on Sunday. It was like the first time in NFL history or something a wide receiver's been targeted that many times for negative yardage in the game as a whole. It doesn't help that on the other side of him now, he has a top 10 pick in Tet McMillan that's killing it right now. I've gone from not being sure they should have did it in the first place to, well, he's here now, to, oh, he's really, really good. But it's not helping us on defense at all. Like, we're going to be in shootouts. We'll just be with a guy that's going to be able to catch the ball better during the shootout. That's kind of how I feel. Your thoughts on XL? Your thoughts, because he's in year 2. Like, this is usually the year where the wide receivers leap and you start to see what they are. And so far, it's not been a good start for him.
I think I think we have to remind ourselves that more than one thing can be true. So if you go back to the Arizona game, the one completion that he had early in the game was a wide receiver screen where just nothing was there. There were a couple of pass attempts that came to him where the ball just hit the dirt, 3 yards in front of him, 2 yards in front of him.
Yeah.
And also there's one that sailed way over his head. So yeah, like those targets, what do you expect them to do with those? But there's also plenty of times where he hasn't gotten separation on routes as well. So I think that's something to keep in mind, is that more than one thing can be true when it comes to the struggles of Xavier Legette. Is he separating on his routes consistently? No, he's not. But sometimes where he has gotten open, has the ball been delivered on time? No. Did he also step out of bounds when he should have got 2 feet inbounds against Jacksonville? Yes, that's on Legette as well. And I think that's the frustrating thing, is that this guy has all the physical gifts, but I also question, is he being used in the proper way as well?
Yeah.
And I think where he can, in my eyes, where he can best use his physical gifts is on, if they can use him in a way where he can actually almost be almost like a slot receiver in a sense, where he catches these underneath routes where McMillan can kind of take the defense and take a safety and kind of push the defense back a little bit. Jatavian Sanders in the middle field can maybe take one of the linebackers, and then on an underneath drag route, here's Legette, where you can dump the ball off to him and let him use that 4.39 speed at his size and just let him catch and run.
It's kind of the spot that Winfrow's in, right? That's kind of where Hunter Winfrow's at, right? Kind of just swapping
him. To an extent, to an extent, but I think that's the skill set that is the best way to use it, because now he has open space where he can just catch and just turn up the field and go. I think that's really, as opposed to, hey, let's have this guy doing double moves and things along those lines. I don't think he's ready for that yet. He was drafted with the mindset of, we're going to develop and groom this guy over time. Now, with the trading of Adam Thielen and Jalen Coker not being there, I think it's kind of pushed him into a position where, hey, you need to help produce now. I don't know if he's getting fully helped from play calling and coaching. I don't know if he's fully getting help in terms of Bryce Young and his accuracy, because let's be honest, if we're going to be super critical of Bryce Young, then we have to remind ourselves of, well, if Bryce Young is struggling, then maybe that's part of Legette's struggles as well. But again, Legette's also not helping himself. It's a compounding of things for Legette. I think less might be more for Legette. Maybe it's a few less snaps, but he might have higher production as a result of it. Again, if you use them in the right ways, which I still question if they are.
I think Coker's going to end up taking his spot when he comes back.
Yeah.
Which
that guy's value is shot up without playing.
right. Yeah, exactly. So like, I mean, literally I expect him to be wide receiver number 2 when he comes back in. So,
Which I think is frustrating to fans as well. It's like, well, wait a second. Those guys are from the same class. One was undrafted. One we traded up a spot into the 32nd pick in the first round. Why does one look better than the other?
Yeah.
And it's not the one that's supposed to be.
Maybe it was too much Glorilla and possum sandwiches or whatever those raccoon sandwiches.
Yeah.
It was too much of those. Do you have a prediction for the final score here in the game? I think last time I saw on FanDuel, Falcons are favored by 4.5.
Yeah, by 4.5. I feel like Bijan Robinson is going to go on a tear in this game. That's just what I think. I remember the game being there last year, and he and Algier just went off in that game. I would not be surprised if we see something like that again. I would go with Atlanta 31-21.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that happening. Now I'm hoping. Now again, Atlanta. Their defense was Swiss cheese last year. They've got 4 rookies starting, so maybe they can exploit that a little bit. Shout out to James Pierce, who I do remember he played at Chambers here in North Carolina when they were winning state titles 2018, 2019. I think they went back-to-back 4AA. He was their star defensive end down there, so we covered him here at Tobacco Road when he was there. So we got a chance to see him.
Walker from Salisbury as well.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. They got some local kids playing. So we'll see from them. It's a 1:00 kickoff Sunday on Fox. If you want to get some more info on the Panthers and everything else going on, go check out our pods. Panther Playbook. It's on the WRAL YouTube channel, and I believe where you can find all major podcast platforms. You can hear the audio there. Believe in Panthers, presented by FanDuel. You can hear that on all major platforms, and you can watch it exclusively on the Believe YouTube channel. The new episode just dropped this morning with former Falcons running back Michael Turner, who's also the guest or the host for Believe in Falcons. So he came in and joined us for that episode. So it should be a good one. I'm going to go ahead and get Dennis out of here. Appreciate you coming through and trying to, I don't know, I wouldn't say you calmed me down. If anything, you might have riled me up a little bit more about Panthers. I was kind of in a place, but now I'm like, I want to see I want to see this. I want to see, like, I'm kind of, So we'll see if the Panthers can pull this out. Last time they saw him, it was the Bryce Young, Steph Curry game, and we'll see if he can duplicate that magic at Bank of America Stadium on Sunday. We will be back with a NFL edition on Saturday morning, 11 o'clock on WWBG 1470 AM in Greensboro, and of course on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com and the YouTube channel. We will see you Saturday.